So, good morning. This week's Parsha is Ikev. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I'm not certain of that ever. And in this Parsha, Moses continues talking to the Israelites, and that's pretty much the whole book. And his focus today, this week, seems to be on remembering. He wants this generation to remember the relationships that the Israelites have with God. And he reminds the people that when they obey, they are blessed, and they face possible annihilation if they disobey. He exhorts them to remember the role that God played in leaving Egypt and surviving in the wilderness for 40 years. He reminds them that they need to remember God also as they go into the land and establish themselves. The other overarching theme, along with remembering, seems to me to be gratitude. Gratefulness for all the blessings that God has bestowed and will continue to bestow if they remember. So during this speech, Moses recalls that the people were stiff-necked. It's hard to say, and especially since autocorrect keeps changing that to naked, not naked or whatever. Anyway, Moses recalls that the people had stiff necks, and he says in chapter 10, verses 12 to 13, "And now, O Israel, what does your God demand of you? Only this, to revere your God, to walk only in divine paths, to love and serve your God with all your heart and soul. Keep Yud-He Vav-He's commandments and laws, which I enjoin upon you today for your good." So how do we do that? We learn a few lines later in the same chapter, but verse 16, "Cut away, therefore, the thickening about your hearts, and stiffen your necks no more." Cut away the thickening about your hearts. And that just phrase really grabbed me. This phrase is often translated as circumcise the foreskin of your heart. It's really powerful. So what does that mean? I really gave that a fair amount of thought. And I think it means pay attention and notice what protective armor you've put around your heart, or what protective armor has grown around your heart, because maybe we can put it there consciously. We all create shields around our hearts. It's natural. It's self-protective. It is also a huge interference with connecting with others. We have one heart. If it's closed and shut down, highly guarded, we may protect ourselves from emotional pain and will be closed to emotional connection and joy and spiritual uplift. Rabbi Lisa Goldstein, one of my teachers, wonderfully explained that to be open-hearted doesn't mean that we need to walk around completely open and vulnerable to anything and everything. She suggested using awareness and the ability to discern as a way to titrate. Knowing when to be open-hearted, how open to be. That's a way to protect ourselves from being emotionally overwhelmed and guard against being emotionally cut off. So before we move into our sit today, I want to encourage us all to remember that we come from a long line of people with stiff necks, stiff-necked ancestors. Probably we have some of that in our DNA. So what does being stiff-necked mean? In the Torah, I believe it is stubbornness tinged with a sense of entitlement. You know, that not being satisfied with the manna, as an example. We can be we can also look at being stiff-necked in a different way. It's as a different kind of stubbornness. It can be standing up for that which you believe in and allowing that circumcised heart to feel the pain of another and then do something about it. So let's take our seats and think about our posture, our feet flat on the floor, and our spines reaching up to the heavens. And as we sit in this relaxed yet regal position, I'm going to encourage us to do some gentle neck rolls. Let's loosen up our necks as a reminder that just because something's in our DNA doesn't mean that we can't work with it. We can't modify it if that's what's called for. So we might want to just tilt our head to one side and the other side. Maybe turn one way, looking over a shoulder, and then turning the other way, looking over the other shoulder. And very gently, just moving the neck in a way that feels comfortable for you without forcing anything. And now, let's lift our shoulders and roll them back, opening up that heart space. And maybe we can envision cutting away whatever we have encasing our hearts. I think that loosening up the neck and opening up the heart is the way we are able to walk in divine paths and love and serve God, however we understand God, with our heart and soul. And so now taking a few nice, deep, slow cleansing breaths. Inhaling and exhaling. And doing that again a couple of more times, really settling. Deeply inhaling and completely exhaling, nice and slowly. And one more time. And now breathing naturally. We'll sit in silence for about close to 15 minutes. As we slowly and gently come back to the room, I offer you this poem entitled Open Heart by Jonathan Green. Crack me open to reveal my beating heart, unused and lonely, waiting. Feel my rhythm. It knows not who it beats for, but thumps in cadence with hope. Listen to me, not my words, but the sound of my soul breathing. It's not as easy as one would think to have an open heart with all that I fear and all that I don't. But I will do it. I will stretch myself to have an open heart so that love can come inside. So with that, I invite anyone who would like to speak up and offer comments or questions or insights, and I will stop the recording.